Avete delle domande voi da fare? Si parla di discriminazione istituzionale, strutturale e istituzionale. Come può essere combattuta questa? We speak about discrimination, structural, institutional. How can be fought? I remember when I was living in England that there was interventions from the states, for example, on racism in the Met Police. Do you think that interventions like that are possible and can be successful?
Yes, I do, and the work against racism is a good example, because I think now the feeling is that, for people with mental health problems, now is the time to think about what's been done, for other groups who've experienced discrimination, and how does that apply, and how can we apply that to mental illness. So, for example, in Sweden, the part of the national anti-stigma program there involved new training for police officers, and it became the subject of a research project so that they could follow up the police officers after their training. And actually the training was so successful and popular that they continued it after the initial project. And it included the involvement of people with experience of not just mental illness, but mental illness and contact with the police. And so for people with that experience to describe what that contact with the police was like is clearly incredibly instructive, a very, very good learning opportunity. Exactly, and that is what the police officers will remember.
Lei faceva l'esempio della Svezia, dove hanno fatto una formazione per gli agenti di polizia, e questo l'hanno fatto sia per gli agenti di polizia che avevano avuto contatto con i malati mentali, e questo usava anche persone che avevano malati mentali che avevano avuto contatto con la polizia, e il vedere l'impatto che avevano avuto come poliziotti su queste persone ha portato a un grosso cambiamento. È stato un grande successo e è diventato pratica comune in Svezia. Do you think that this is possible also in Italy, or you don't know the situation enough?
I don't know much details about the situation, and it is important, I guess, to always consider that stigma is contextual. It shows itself in different ways, in different situations, different places. But having said that, I see no reason why, that similar interventions couldn't take place.
Le ho chiesto se conosceva abbastanza della situazione in Italia per poter dire se una cosa aveva successo, una cosa simile avrebbe avuto successo, e lei mi ha risposto che è molto contestuale, però non vede la ragione per cui non possa avere successo un'operazione simile anche in Italia.
About Italy is that many things happen at the regional level instead of the national level, and in some ways it's like the USA in that respect. So, for example, in the USA there is an anti-stigma campaign in California run by the Californian state, and so perhaps what might be easier in Italy is to work at that regional level.
Lei ha detto che capisce che in Italia le cose funzionano a livello regionale, e l'ha paragonato un po' agli Stati Uniti, dove per esempio in California c'è una forte campagna anti-stigma, e dice che questo potrebbe avvenire a livello regionale anche in Italia. They're asking which what can be, okay, what could be the role of the users in this campaign and in improving, in working against stigma? Do you think that, for example, a thing like a users radio can be a good success? Could be a good idea?
So the most important thing to understand is that there is no successful anti-stigma program without users. In the past, our more traditional educational campaigns involved a lot of professionals, because the idea was that if we just tell people more about mental illness, then stigma will go away. But this kind of education about different diagnoses on its own is not that useful. The critical part, along with education, because obviously people's level of knowledge is low, so education is important. But as part of that, we must include people with their own experience to provide this aspect of contact, which can reduce prejudice. And also because of the power of the personal story. As I said with the police, it's the people's stories about their contact with the police that the police trainees remember and learn from. And because we learn through narrative, it's people's stories of their experiences which are most useful.
Ok, le ho chiesto quale poteva essere il ruolo degli utenti nella campagna contro la discriminazione. Lei ha detto che il ruolo degli utenti è fondamentale e che ad esempio in Svezia è stata il potere della parola degli utenti che ha fatto cambiare idea ai poliziotti. E lei dice che un tempo le campagne erano gestite dai professori, dallo Stato, mentre invece adesso molte campagne sono centrate sugli utenti, perché sono gli utenti che hanno l'esperienza e possono utilizzarla. Ok.
So just thinking about your question specifically about the role of a radio station, there are, I think, there's probably more than one possibility. So service users working on a radio station clearly must be good at talking, right? And that may be something that's quite useful in terms of talking to other media. So making other media outlets be aware of your presence and making yourselves available for interviews, for example, and clearly, the interviews that you do, how to increase the circulation of this. Are there other media channels that you can use besides radio, to increase the circulation?
Yeah, we've got, for example, a social media presence.
Great, yeah, and I think social media here is very powerful for all of the problems that it also can create. It is also a way to provide this contact.
Le ho chiesto del potere della radio e lei mi ha detto che una radio degli utenti può avere molto potere, perché prima di tutto perché bisogna essere bravi a parlare e poi dopo perché come la presenza sui social media anche dà potere agli utenti e dalla radio può diffondersi, ad esempio un'intervista come questa può essere usata in una televisione, o sempre il messaggio può essere sempre diffuso sempre di più. Ok, a posto. Okay, we thank you very much for your interview. And we thank you for your intervention in this Congress. It has been very interesting, very informative. And we hope to see you again for that anti-stigma campaign.
Thank you very much for having me.